If you're hyped for this game just like I am and plan to jump into Sons of the Forest just like I'm going to do, whether you are a brand new or a returning player, here are some tips for surviving your first night along with some other things to keep in mind. So the other day, the developers at Night gave a few tips on how to go about surviving your first night in Sons of the Forest. And the first tip they gave was collect everything around you wherever you land or spawn. For new players to the series, this is detrimental because there's most likely going to be resources around you that will be vital to your survival in the beginning game of Sons of the Forest. Making sure you grab all the items inside the plane and all of the items around the plane wreckage will help you build constructibles later on. Items found inside the plane in the Forest game were the plane axe, the pedometer, meals, soda, booze, and medical items. And scattered outside the plane were circuit boards, suitcases to search, sticks and rocks, and things used for crafting. So be sure you really search the area before heading away from the starting spawn. And for returning players, I'm sure you already know this after playing the first Forest game, that collecting the resources at your crash spot gave you a decent head start on your beginning journey. I know that it's not the best idea to start a base close to the wreckage of the plane crash in the first Forest game because it can and will attract the mutant AI enemies to that location. So I suggest heading out and looking for a more lucrative building spot, preferably closer to a water source. Even the devs state that it's probably not a good idea to go about building anywhere else besides next to a water source in the beginning of the game because they would rather you start close to a water source where you have readily available resources like, of course, water, trees, and plants. The developers also say to take note on where you find items and resources so that you can go back and collect them again because they will respawn. This is good to know, especially if you find plants that help you craft medical items. Now, setting up camp. Be careful and mindful where you want to set up your camp and build a shelter. Setting up camp right next to the starting spawn is probably not the best idea, like I said before. Building a shelter next to a water source like the ocean, the river, or even a lake can be more beneficial when starting Sons of the Forest. The building in the forest is very in-depth and even more so in Sons of the Forest, and there's going to be a wide variety of things you're going to be able to build and do to your base. The devs go on to say that you need to pay close attention to how you build your base. Starting off decently small is probably easier in my opinion, so you can get something set up nice and quick and get it to a state where it's durable and defendable. Thinking about making your base strong, sturdy, and defendable because you'll get AI cannibals that come looking for you, so having something manageable at first will be a lot easier. In Sons of the Forest, we'll be seeing new weapons and guns in the game, and even the devs go on to say that conserving your ammo will be a big deal. They say that you're not going to find an unlimited supply of ammo around the map of Sons of the Forest, so they say that conserving your ammo for situations that require a little bit more firepower, I'd say is the best. They say don't run around and shoot things you can otherwise kill with something else that doesn't require ammo, like a turtle, of course. Don't go around putting rounds inside of a turtle. They're just being wasteful, and you can use those rounds for stronger enemies. You can just spear those turtles, okay? Now, a very important tip when you come across enemy AI in the world, keep your distance and observe before you engage. The devs state that they will be prepared for you more than you are prepared for them. So sometimes, even if they don't attack you, it might be wise just to go about your way because not all the time they're gonna rush you and try to kill you. This is just like in the first Forest game, the enemy AI are seeking to know how big of a threat you are to them. Now, in Sons of the Forest, they have a brand new non-playable companion named Kelvin. Kelvin is a new companion that will accompany you during your time in Sons of the Forest. After you crash land in Sons of the Forest, Kelvin also survives alongside you, but in this case, Kelvin will not speak to you because Kelvin is deaf and lost his hearing. And as seen in some of their gameplay trailers and so on, I believe he also might have some brain damage. I mean, the dude has blood dripping out both of his ears. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is don't leave Kelvin at the crash site to fend for himself. Bring him along your journey because Kelvin can be ordered to help you gather resources, help you fight, and survive on this dangerous cannibal island. Now, on the other hand, besides the developer tips, here are some tips I have after playing the first Forest game. I remember that if you can't sleep during the night, it might indicate that mutants are near your campsite, so be mindful of that. It wasn't a good idea to eat something before going to bed because when you wake, your character will be starving. So in this case, if you are starving, just go to sleep, wake back up in the morning, and then have something to eat so you're not wasteful on your food. And always have some food left in your inventory in case you are in a pinch. Use what you have around you to your advantage. Like if you're close to water, you can actually lure enemies into the water and they'll drown. I'm not sure how this will work in Sons of the Forest, but I did this in the first game. They also ran into my fire pit and caught fire, eventually dying because they were set on fire. So I don't know how much more smarter these mutant AIs are going to be, so we'll see about that. It's also possible to hide from the mutants. So if you are getting ganged up on and you find a spot to hide, you can do so until they leave. I would also say avoid fighting with more than one enemy in the beginning and always use your advantage to survive, because they can easily gang up on you and kill you. Also, when it comes to fighting AI, if they are approaching you, stand your ground. If it's during the daytime, you can stand your ground against enemy patrols. Sometimes they'll back off or give you time to back up slowly. And to do so, you just simply stare at your enemy, do not move, and don't give to their false charges. They'll act as if they're going to come at you and then stop and slowly move backwards. They love to play games, and I'm sure that in this new game, they will be even more challenging. Attempt to upgrade your weapons as soon as possible so that you can become stronger. And that's it for right now. I do have some more tips and tricks up my sleeve, but I need to get my hands on the game so I can see what's new and what has been changed. If some of these tips help you, if you want to support me, hit that like button, consider subscribing. I'll make some more guides for all of you guys soon. Have a good day, everyone.